Welcome all. The video today is this channel's first ever, and we are going to be looking at miniature assembly. I've decided to choose a mini from my Indominus 40k box set. The pose of this Primaris Lieutenant is ideal for this build. The tools that we require are a pair of flat-sided cutters. Being flat allows for getting up close to those plastic pieces on their sprues and makes life a lot easier. A hobby knife or a scalpel. I like the ones that use disposable blades. Be careful because these are extremely sharp. And a glue. I use plastic contact cement for my plastic minis. Finally, some sandpaper, wet or dry, or even some nail files. I use 400 and 240 grit. This is the sprue for today's build. Couple this with this 40mm base and we're good to go. Inside the Indominus manual, each mini will have its own assembly guide. All sprues are lettered and numbered, so they correspond to the manual. So we're going to remove pieces C1, C2 and C3 to start this build. I have zoomed in here to show you how having a flat side on your cutters will allow you to get up close to the pieces you are cutting off from the sprues. Sometimes it is best to leave a little gap, because if you're cutting in an awkward position, you may cut into the parts of the mini, so be careful. I use this method so I can clean it up later using a hobby knife. If it is, however, not a visible area, like the base of a foot that will be stuck down to a base, then I will just butt up the cutters to the surface of the piece I am cutting out. No worries here. As you can see here on this sprue, all the numbers are next to their pieces and the letter of the sprue is in the corner. Now, having cut out those first few pieces, we shall use a hobby knife to cut down the sprue ends left on the pieces of the mini. Doing this will smooth out the surface and leave the miniature almost ready for assembly. I find it best to use a blunted blade. This allows for more control of the knife, as a new blade is very sharp and cuts through plastic like butter, so mistakes with a new blade are easy to make. Remove these sprue ends gradually, don't rush. If it's a big sprue end, cut it down bit by bit. Just be careful and try not to hurt yourself. On some of the pieces you may notice lines, and these lines down the middle of a leg or an armour plate, for example, are known as mould lines. They can cause issues with painting if not smoothed out, so if you're bothered, remove them. I will do so just for main HQ and special units. Use a combination of your hobby knife and sandpaper. Again, take your time to ensure a smooth surface and get a result that looks pleasing to the eye. You may see a protruding piece of plastic coming from the base of this miniature's foot. These are used to secure the mini onto its base. Some minis will have these protruding from both feet. This one though just has the one. The minis from this box set are typically push fit, meaning you don't always need glue, but for extra strength in your minis I suggest you do so. Looking at this mini, we see there are holes. These are for the rods that are present on the other pieces we cut out earlier. These allow for both parts of the torso to be pushed together, but I will still put a small drop of glue into each hole and on a few of the flat surfaces that are contact areas. These will result in an extra secure mini. You may have noticed whilst we are pushing the torso together that it sometimes leaves lines down the side of the mini. Perfectionists will fill these gaps in and smooth it out with green stuff, but that is not what we're going to do here today. I've jumped ahead a bit and cut out the rest of the pieces from the sprue to allow us to build the mini body of the lieutenant. I've tidied up the mould lines with a hobby knife too. You will see on the torso section of this mini that there are even more holes and rods protruding. These are to allow us to attach the arms and other parts like the sword. I will glue some, and for the sake of this video, I won't glue all pieces, like the shield for example. The protruding rod on the left is for the arm that holds the shield. This is a long rod, so I won't be gluing this piece. I think it should be secure enough on its own. The right arm, however, only has a small protruding rod to be pushed onto, so I will add glue here for extra strength. The hole on the chest is for an armour plate that tends to be a more common of a place for officers and character minis. I struggled with the backpack. I placed the glue in the right location and just found resistance when pushing the two together. After removing and reseating the backpack, it went together well. I think there may have been an air pocket of sorts in the hole that was released when I removed the backpack the first time. As I mentioned before, the shield, I have chosen to push fit this into place for now, as it can make painting easier later on. The Necron head here is for adding flair to the base, hence why the base has two holes, and this armour plate here is for the mini's chest area. Some minis will have unique poses where they are holding shields in front of their chests, making painting details difficult. So a lot of us choose to keep this separate until painting is complete. I will glue in the chest plate to make sure it stays in place. Moving on to the base, I will tidy up the sides by removing any mould imperfections and blemishes. Use a hobby knife and sandpaper for this task. Normally the sides of the base are just painted, so a smooth surface for painting is what is desired. Let me apologise for the camera work here today. The autofocus is particularly bad, and as I am recording this on my mobile phone, you have to bear with me. It is a large learning curve and I am doing my best. Okay, so there are two holes on the base and our miniature only has one protruding piece of plastic coming from its foot. This is because the second hole is for the Necron's head. Make sure to select the right hole, otherwise the mini will overhang the base. After placement of the mini, you will notice the hole to the rear is intended for the Necron's head. I choose to glue both the miniature via its feet and the Necron's head to the base. If you're clumsy, like me, it's worth it, trust me. I think we are done here for today. Thanks for sticking this out. I have enjoyed the process involved with putting this video together, and as I learn more and more new techniques, I am sure the videos will get better. So if you enjoyed the content of today, please subscribe, leave any comments below. Any advice is welcome, trust me. This has been the Frantic Hobbyist. Goodbye.